Well, this is really terrific that I know you make a lot of speeches, but why did you decide to write another book? And why don't you tell everybody now that we're on, let me just introduce Barbara. Barbara Greenleaf, This Old Body, and 99 Other Reasons to Laugh at Life. That's how I met Barbara. We featured her as a book of the month in Boomer Times a few years ago, and she's really so funny, but she has a family, and they put up with her. With her
And vice versa. I have to get in my jabs right there.
Okay, and you know what? I forgot where you live.
I live in Santa Barbara, smoky Santa Barbara, California, but thank God no fires yet.
Right, and that must be very hard on you. I know, I feel so badly. I thought you lived in California, but I wasn't quite sure where. So you tell me what you are doing when you're not writing.
When I'm not writing, I'm in my craft room, and I take things I find at thrift shops and I embellish them. And most recently, I found an old pair of cowboy boots, which I turned into what I call, Anita, like a rhinestone cowboy, and it's pink and turquoise and feathers and you name it, it's tchotchke. So a friend of mine looked at the before and after and she said, ooh, it had a sex change.
Right, a sex change.
Yeah.
And they fit you though, so you wear them.
No, I don't wear them, just for fun, for display.
Oh, I see.
And I have another pair of stiletto heels like this that I embellished like Carmen Miranda. And so a friend, when I put them up on my Facebook page, she said, oh, and I'll visit you in whatever rehab you're in. I don't wear shoes like that anymore.
Yeah, I know, but you just have that flair to do that, right, and make fun. But well, probably some people would like to buy that kind of stuff, but you don't want to have to do that.
No, I want to have fun. And actually, I'll show you something else I made. I'm just going to reach around the TV. Yeah,
okay.
I have, how to keep this should be subtitled, How to Keep Your Sanity in the Pandemic. So yes. I made all these little bowls because as you can see behind me, there's a quilt. I used to be a quilter. That's not mine. But I still like to work with my hands. So I covered all these balls with different kinds of materials, and that was a lot of fun. I don't know, but I'm running out of things. This pandemic better end soon.
Yeah, but so when did you write your new book? During this pandemic?
No, I did. I wrote it last year. It's based on a blog I had for 3 years for parents of adult children. And I felt that it just deserved to be made into a book.
And tell us about the name of the book and what it is.
Sure. Okay, it's called Parents of Adult Children, You Are Not Alone. And I've been a long time family watcher. I wrote a book called Children Through the Ages, A History of Childhood, and helped a handbook for working mothers. I was a contributing editor at Working Mother magazine. So the family has always fascinated me. But boy, Anita, there are such changes today. And I think people in the older generation have to stretch quite a bit to fit into today's mores, if you will.
It's funny you should mention that. I've just become affiliated with a major website called elearningforseniors.com. And it is large and big and it has everything between courses and products and blogs, and it's wonderful. It's online now, but as of October 1st, should be final. And our magazine's on there. But anyway, when you mention that, the reason the man who started this did it, because he felt that seniors have so much experience. And of course, I add the name boomers too, because boomer seniors is such a mixture, that they have so much experience and they don't want to just retire. It's not fair to society or to them. There's too much out there for them to be a part of, just like you and I. And it's, I'm not about to retire. I have so much I want to do.
Well, I'm keeping back 2 years, 2 books in 2 years has about done me in. So I'm big on jigsaw puzzles at the moment.
Yeah.
That's my other addiction.
Oh, is it? And are these large?
Oh, the worst. My husband gave me one from Cornell University that, I don't know, if you were a Mensa graduate, you'd have trouble with it. I got it, but it's a huge a puzzle that depicts the Cornell campus in a stylized manner. It was really the puzzle from hell. Now I'm doing one that's sweeter and easier. I'm happy for it.
So now what do you have, a big table? When they get so large, how do you display it? How do you deal with that?
Well, I was going to, you can glue them together and put it on a wall, but I'll tell you, I still have nightmares about the Cornell puzzle, so I just broke it up. And I trade with friends, so we have a larger pool to draw from.
And is this actually a solitary deal? You don't do this with friends together? Wouldn't that be more fun?
Well, I know someone who does it with her husband, or did it until he fired her. He didn't like the way she was too disorganized. No, my husband runs screaming into the night. I may have told you, he makes doll houses for children in cancer treatment, and that's how he spends his time. So sometimes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, it's just wonderful, for the Teddy Bear Cancer Foundation. And each one is different, and they're just beyond. I mean, they have move-in condition, let's just say. So yeah, sometimes we're like Santa's workshop here. You know, I'm busy with my crafts, he's busy with his doll houses. It's fun.
But you have kids, so how are they involved with you now?
Well, of course, with the pandemic, it's really difficult. So I'm in California. I have one family in New York and one not that far away, about 2 hours. So we're going to meet halfway, and we do meet halfway, and we meet outside at a state park, and we're masked, we're 6 feet apart. So it's not ideal, but it's something.
Yeah, I'm faced with the same thing. As a matter of fact, I have not wanted to have my hair cut or colored, and I haven't gone for my mammogram. I haven't gone to any of these things. I've been so sheltered, but I'm trying to break away a little bit, one little thing at a time, because everyone, all the doctors and all these other people seem to have it together. You know, you only go one person at a time and everything's clean. How are you doing about that?
I'm opening up slowly. We
Right.
eat outside a little bit. I wear a mask, not goggles, but sunglasses and a shield and gloves. I look like I just descended from Mars, you know?
Right.
But I wanted to get back to something about the family, because this is kind of funny. My younger daughter, for 5 minutes, I think, decided she was going to homeschool the kids because it's so difficult with Zoom. So she asked me to help with English. Now, you know, I've written 8 books. And I, however, am tackling a 6th grade reading assignment. Anita, I am studying for this thing like it's a postgraduate course. I read the first book twice. I saw the movie. I wrote out the questions, 6 pages of answers. I mean, it was crazy. Well, thank God I passed. And my daughter asked me to do the second one, but I was really nervous there for a while.
It isn't easy. I have a grandson who teaches 3rd grade in Michigan, and it's to a diverse group of children outside of Detroit. And he's loved being a teacher, but this is very, very difficult for him because a lot of people, unlike affluent families that everyone has a computer and they can have help, they don't. And a lot of the parents, they either don't have a computer, they don't know how to discuss it. So it's been very hard on him to get all those lessons through, just as you were kind of describing. And that's not your situation, but you can appreciate that.
Oh, I can, because I do lectures on Zoom, which for the serious stuff, I have slides and, you know, that's okay. But I will say that I gave a talk for this book, This Old Body. Well, there were 4 people in a room masked. Then there were people at home who had their mics muted. I mean, try to be funny when no one can laugh. You can't hear a thing. I have to get a laugh track. Honestly,
yes.
You know, it's just really hard to gin up any energy. I felt like an idiot. But so
it's like the baseball and football players who want to have an audience that yell and clap, right? Even if there's no one there.
I know, well, especially humor. I mean, it's just so weird to try and be funny in a vacuum. I felt like they were at Madame Tussauds Wax Museum.
Yeah, it's been different for you. But, you know, when you really get down to thinking about it, throughout life, there's a lot more serious things as far as how we're dealing with it. I mean, we don't want to get the COVID, but there are people who are at home And I admire you because you're using the time to do different kinds of things. So you're not complaining, sitting there, oh, why am I home? I don't do that either. I have, the magazine we keep putting out and these Zoom interviews, and I'm thankful and appreciative. I don't want to catch anything, but life is not, when you think about what some of the poor people have done throughout the world, and what I was thinking of the Syrians, and then I was thinking of the children and what's happened with, with the immigration. Those are serious problems.
Right. But of course, like any other human being, I get down. And I will say yesterday, the combination of the fires and the pandemic and, all the brouhaha, will everyone's vote be counted? I don't know.
I'm sure it really takes, but imagine what it's like with those poor people in the fire situation, and one day they're in a house and now there's no house.
No, well, I'm keeping a little suitcase next to the door because we have been evacuated in the past. And then
have you?
Of what to take. More from the smoke and the ash. So yeah.
So you are affected by that. So can you go out without having breathing problems?
I can, but I'm not making a habit of it. I'll just go into the store or whatever. I was told that you shouldn't be out in this unhealthy air more than 20 minutes if you can help it.
Yeah, people were saying it's, someone says like smoking 100 packs of cigarettes a day. I mean, some horrible discussion, but yeah. And it's funny, here in Florida, all we are concerned with are hurricanes, of which we've not had anything serious over the last couple of years. Even now, poor area there in Louisiana, and it just keeps missing us and veering over there.
Right. Well, just getting back to the book, Parents of Adult Children, You Are Not Alone. A couple of generations can be in the house at the same time now with nowhere to go. And so if there were tensions before, boy, have they been exacerbated by this. People with the millenniums at home, they would argue about, oh, your hair, that hairdo, that boyfriend, that, your study habits, whatever it is. And that's just been intensifying because of the stay-at-home orders.
Really? I guess I can think about that, but they should be so thankful that they have a place to go and they don't have to pay rent and they have food and.
Right. Well, it's really a weird phenomenon today. Actually, the preferred domestic arrangement now for these millennials is living at home. And so the kids launched and then they're back again. So sometimes they're called the boomerang generation. Whereas before, 50 years ago or 60 years ago, like 60 or 70% of people in the 18 to 35 age range would be living with a romantic partner, a husband or wife, or, a significant other. But today they're home and you're right, they're living rent-free. They have some meals prepared. They have their laundry done. I mean, why move?
Right. I want everyone to know this is Barbara Greenleaf, and I first met Barbara when I got this charming book, This Old Body is Hysterical. It's a wonderful book, and I hope you're still selling it. I don't know how you advertise it, but it is worth people buying. It's fun, it's short little things, and you have quite a sense of humor, I must say. And did you always have this sense of humor, Barbara?
I don't know. When I was growing up, boy, if it wasn't hard, it wasn't worth doing. So all the women in my family have very cute sense of humor, but I never thought about putting it on paper. And then something about aging, Anita, just tickled my funny bone. And I started to write these little personal essays about my thinning hair and maybe jiggles under the arms and, the drooping eyelids. And somehow it just came to me. And so I was like that 100-year-old plant. I rose up and was funny, and then I went down and I'm my old stick in the mud self.
Yeah. Well, this old body was a very good name because, it's funny. I was just saying something to Dan this morning that I bumped my arm on my way putting on something, and all of a sudden these little blood things come on my hand because I do take high blood, from high blood pressure. I take certain kind of medication, and I look at it. I said, "What is that?" but I don't really think too much about it. But it's funny, years ago, I used to see this on older people, all these little marks on their arms and all. Now I've got it.
Well, it's very exciting to be old because every morning you wake up and you say, ooh, where's my next ache and pain coming from? Every day brings some new excitement. Yeah.
Well, I think what's happened though, these, especially here in South Florida, when you see the dating going on, the older adults, but they're living in these very upscale, fancy senior communities, or even not upscale, but they're busy, they're having fun, they're doing things. Now they're not, of course. The COVID has definitely changed things, but they have not really given in to being depressed about growing older. They're somehow involved, whether it's volunteering or other kinds of good life.
Yeah. Well, of course, they've lived through a lot. I read to a woman who's 100 years old. She never forgets a word, Anita. Thank God she fumfered once the last time I was there, and I was able to supply a word. I was so thrilled because she's so head and shoulders above anybody 30, 40 years her junior. So she was born in 1920, obviously, and look what she's lived through, so she's taking the pandemic in stride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let me ask you about that. So are you reading to her because her vision is impaired?
Correct. That's the first thing to go. And what else is funny is that most of us are so concerned about keeping active, and we're running, jumping, hopping, bicycling, swimming. This woman only reached up to get her St. John knits out of the closet and put them on. That was all her exercise, but she's in great shape. So luck of the draw, right?
Yeah, that's true. A lot of it is really the gene pool. It's true. But yet, it's funny, we have a columnist who writes beautifully. I don't know if you continue to get our magazine, do you?
I think Dan just resubscribed me.
I hope that I hope he does. Because this columnist, Linda Sauget, actually she's a businesswoman, but she's got great mind and great heart, and it comes out in her columns. And every time she writes another column, it's, that was perfect for me. She knew what I was thinking, right? but she really, this last one that's coming up in our October issue, the title is Attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And you could get on that one.
Attitude is everything. It's amazing what it can see you through. This last book I did with my grandson is called Hatchet. And it's all about a kid who was dropped in the Northwest woods and how he survived for 54 days with nothing but a hatchet. But he remembered his English teacher's dictum to stay positive. And you find this resilience in yourself. You find that you can do it. If you have that attitude, it's unbelievable what you can overcome, including
Tell me about that book. That sounds so fascinating. How old's your grandson?
It's called Hatchet, just as the tool.
Yeah.
And it's by Gary Paulsen, Paulsen. It was a Newbery Prize winner. It's short, but it's so compelling because it's about a 13-year-old boy who's up in a bush plane, and the pilot has a heart attack and dies. So he knows he's got to land this plane, which he doesn't do really. He crashes it, but nevertheless, he comes out alive. And there he is all alone, 13 years old, a city kid from New York.
Wow.
And he takes it step by step and works with nature, not against it. And he survives, eventually is rescued.
I would love to get that book. I have 14-year-old triplet grandchildren living in Miami.
Ooh.
I think they would love that book. Oh, that's great. So it's just called Hatchet. I'll have to look at it and get it for them.
Yeah, and then it was so popular that Paulsen went on to write 4 others in the Hatchet series. So I'm looking forward to the second one.
The Hatchet series.
I tell you. When I was a kid, I never read children's books. I didn't know what the really meant, but I used to read Hemingway and F. Scott Fitzgerald and all these. I don't know why, but I just did. My mother was a great reader, so we went to the library every week, and I came home with a big stack of books. So now I'm really just learning about children's literature, and some of it is great, really great.
Well, the book that I and I've given actually to grown-ups, Dr. Seuss and a lot of the books he wrote. Oh
Yes,
my goodness, weren't they great?
they were. I still have them, like an
Right,
earworm running around in my head.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. That, yeah, he really knew what he was doing about this. But I was thinking about this old body. Maybe there's another one in you for this. More
There
jokes.
it
You
is.
have it, why not? Because
Well,
it was a
yeah, I'm writing some essays. I lump under the title COVID Capers because so many
COVID capers.
right, ridiculous things,
Yeah.
come up. For example, like you, I couldn't get my hair done. So I exhumed these old rollers, must be from junior high, Anita, rolled up my hair. Then I'm doing my nails. And so Monday nights, I feel like I'm back in high school. The hair, the nails, I just need a boy to call me on the phone for a date now. I'll be
Yeah,
back.
right, that's right. Well, it is different, but I have to say that the the news. I don't watch not too much news anymore because you want to talk about getting depressed. It's all the news. Better to just watch fun things. And now they're bringing back old comedians. They're bringing back people who we used to love, and you really it's hard to believe they're not living anymore. There they are.
I know.
It's those
Well,
shows were great.
yeah. Well, you may remember Norman Cousins, who
Oh
felt
yeah.
laughter was the best medicine per the
Oh
reason
yes.
I do.
Right.
So he also felt it was a great sleeping pill. And he would watch old Abbott and Costello movies and then he'd fall asleep. So I thought, okay, I'll try it. And I updated it with the Golden Girls on YouTube.
Oh, the best.
I tell you, yeah. Didn't put me to
The
sleep, but I
Golden
had a good
Girls
time.
was. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it didn't put me to sleep, but at least I had a good time.
When you think about it, Barbara, the Golden Girls was so far ahead of its time. I
Mm.
just read something about that. When you think of it, at the time, because I know my mother, she died when she was 94, and she watched that all the time. And it was, I mean, they had sex in it. They had all the funny things. It was absolutely the best. And then the other thing is, instead of going to a retirement community to live, I've been professing about people should be finding friends they like and buy a big house and live together, 4 people, and maybe have a manager or something. I just love the whole idea. And I got that from the Golden Girls. And I think there is an organization, I don't think they could name it Golden Girls, but it's like that are putting together these kinds of homes.
Yeah, it's intriguing, isn't it? Yeah. I think because we're very social animals, and I think we're learning that. And that's the hardest part of the stay-at-home order is the isolation and not hugging. And luckily, I have a husband who's very huggable, so I hug him. It takes up a lot of time, but I kiss him and I hug him. And it's so important. And, I've been doing a study because I got interested in humor. And I did find humor, first of all, everybody thinks they have a sense of humor, so good for them. But that men and women both value humor as a very attractive trait in the opposite sex. But when you drill deeper, Anita, you find that what men consider a good sense of humor is a woman
Yes.
who will laugh at their jokes.
Oh, I'm sure that's true. Right. Well, how do you feel about people laughing at your jokes?
I like it. I don't
Of
want to
course.
become, yeah, sure. I don't want to become manipulative, but I think that women like that whole package, a man who has a personality and is sparkly and, yeah, funny. I don't think men are comfortable
Tell
with.
us about your husband a little bit.
Oh gosh, he's a
Has
doll.
have has he appreciated your humor?
I think he has. And I applaud him. I happen to know a former love of his life. And I must say that I'm in good company. She's very bright. And I mean, we've been married since the Civil War, but he's strong enough to stand up to a strong woman and the perception of a strong woman. And we used to live in a very small town north of New York City. He went to the hardware store once to sign a bill, get some stuff. And the person behind the counter looked at him and said, "Oh, you're Mr. Barbara." But he took it in stride. And
Of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
Oh, Mr. Barber, right. So he's been good. And how many children do you have? You have three?
We have two girls, and then
Oh.
I had a granddaughter, so I thought, hot dog, I know what to do with her. Well, that was followed by a boy, a grandson. We had not had a boy on my mother's side of the family in 100 years. Didn't know what to do with the boy. And then it was followed by two more boys. So I'm
Oh
loaded
my.
now with little boys, but they're darling. They really are.
So your grandchildren, so do you write them? Do they talk to you on Zoom or
Yeah,
Facebook or
right.
FaceTime?
All of the above. And I have one, uh, my third grandson, and he's the reader. So we were asked to support him in a readathon, to raise money for a little school trip. So we said, big sports, we'll do $1 a page. The other kids read 35 pages, 42 pages. He read 1,047 pages. So let me tell
No
you,
kidding.
we had to negotiate
Right.
a
You
flat
didn't write
fee.
the check.
So right. So from now on, I just give him a set amount.
But is that the boy that you read Hatchet?
Yeah.
I love
Actually,
the idea.
yeah.
I was going to say, I love the idea of Hatchet. I can't wait to go and look that up when we leave because,
Oh, it's heart stopping.
yeah, I
Right.
think that's a very beautiful thing about what it would be like because our kids today, especially if they're affluent, everything, they just want this, they want that, they get at this. But I don't know how many can survive in a situation that you talked about. They might, if they had the right attitude, they could.
Well, what was wonderful is that he had an English teacher, and this English teacher stressed positivity. So when he was really down, he was able to call up the words of this English teacher, and that helped sustain him.
Oh, absolutely. We all remember certain teachers, don't we?
Yes.
What teacher do you remember?
I had a high school English teacher, freshman high school, and she always looked so pretty and she smelled so good. But I could confide in her, and I told her I wanted to be in the Foreign Service. And she said, well, think about that. It would take you away from your family and so forth. But she didn't laugh at me. She didn't poo-poo it. She just went with me. And eventually I did not go into the Foreign Service. But
I don't think going to Foreign Service was for you, but you never know. You could have made all the enemies laugh. So Dan, are we run out of time?
Yep, just about.
Isn't she funny as I told you she
Yes.
was?
Anita and I were chatting prior to the interview, and I was saying that you remind me of the wonderful Irma Bombeck.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's my idol. Thank
Yeah,
you. It's the highest compliment you could give me.
Oh yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, you have very similar humors, and yeah. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, well, I mean, Irma has so many wonderful quips, but here are two of them. Don't go to any doctor whose plants are dying on the window. And
Okay.
then she said, eat dessert. She said, remember all those women on the Titanic who waved off the dessert cart. So that's
Right.
See, this is the thing. She has these little quips. That's why I don't know if I kind of have to bring this book back to you, Dan, for you to. I think at the time, I don't know if you ever even got to see it, but I was looking through this before she was on just to refresh my memory. And so if I'm up one night and I can't sleep, I'm going to look through your book again and laugh. But I know you always said I could use some of those things as long as I attribute it to you. And your other book now seems really very, very special about,
I think so. Yeah, I think it gets people to look at their relationship with their with their children. We have an industry of advice for people with young children, but actually we're going to have our adult children 3 times as long as we had our young children. So
and they're a lot more opinionated.
You got it. Our interactions are more complex and subtle.
Right, that's right. So it's all down to loving your family, attitude, because once someone has an attitude that isn't so nice, that stays with them. And here, if you have them in your home, that's not very happy.
Not happy. And the estrangement. issues. I tell you, it's a tsunami in this country, and it's so sad. And then
It
there
is.
are people who are alienated from their grandchildren as a result.
Yeah,
And
I have an estrangement with a daughter, and so I do understand all that. We have a lot of the family. I mean, we're all, but they cause a lot of this, no matter what. And it's interesting. I don't know if we have enough time, but one of my grandchildren heard about, my daughter. She said, "Well, how come? We'll go see her." And I said, "Listen," I said, "you'd have to hear a lot of story first before you want to go do that." So.
Right.
But it's everybody doesn't understand what goes on in a family. Sometimes it's pretty horrible.
A lot of times. And yeah, and if you look at ethnic families for first generation, they might put loyalty and the family, above all else. But then as people are in America longer, everything is about themselves. And so that idea of kind of overlooking a lot of these irritations doesn't happen. And estrangement is often the result. Very sad.
Yeah, I know, but
so, but you
okay,
can
Dan.
laugh.
So,
But life
do you have
goes
anything
on.
else? You have anything else to say, Dan? I love having you on.
Thank you so much. Invite me back anytime.
Yes,
Okay,
what a treat.
Barbara.
What a wonderful
Yeah.
treat.
Well, it was a treat for me.
Aw,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing
To
you
you
again.
too. Okay.
Yes,
Take
Bye-bye.
care of
thanks so
yourself.
much, Barbara.
Take care. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.